Those contractors who have a lot of recurring revenue, i.e. maintenance agreements, always do better than those who don't. And those who have both a very strong service business and a very strong replacement business, whether it is residential or commercial, do better than those who are in RNC.
One of the things I asked my grandfather once a long time ago about, his ideas about business up and down and stuff like that. And one of the things he said is, I choose not to participate in a recession.
Well, thank you. We're extremely excited. I think we're having a great conversation today. I just want to put a little perspective on it for our listeners and viewers. And we're gonna just go take a little trip down memory lane, as painful as it might be. But, I'm guessing 2 years ago at about this time, I think all of us, I would venture to guess that, we're probably doing the same thing, a Zoom call somewhere, or training or video session of some sort, just because we weren't traveling and we were working from home. And at that time, we had many worries. We all did, and the health and safety of our loved ones, our family and friends was the primary, at the forefront of our minds, of course. But from a business sense, in the business standpoint, it was a strange time for all of us too, right? In many ways. But for contractors, lucky for us, most of them were deemed essential trade, so they were able to work through it. And that actually, many of them did okay, and some of them actually thrived. They figured out new ways to do business. They figured out suppliers and even the suppliers found ways to stay open, right, in distribution during the shutdown. And really early on, it's kind of interesting, when we thought of supply chain issues back then, I don't even think the term was out that early, but there were supply chain issues. We were thinking, not having enough toilet paper and hand sanitizer, right?
Yep.
And then lo and behold, as time went on, it hit our beloved industry.
Yep.
And many HVAC contractors got through it and did fine. Some, like I said before, not only survived but actually thrived. And there, seemingly at the end of the light, or the end of the tunnel, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Everything started reopening here just as early as this past year, early this year. There was a light. Then all of a sudden, boom. Fast forward to today, we're looking at historic inflation, historic gas prices, lingering supply chain issues, struggling stock market, labor difficulties in many different ways too. So here we are again in stressful times, to say the least, right, Ken? I mean, this conversation.
Yes, no, absolutely. And so what I love about this, though, is the genius behind today's call, I think, is just the timeliness of it. To bring these guys together to talk about things like inflation, to talk about, we're not going to use the R word, but economic softening, avoidance, we'll call it. How about that? There are things that we can do. There are things we can talk about, but you don't want to be talking about them while it's happening. The smart time to talk about it is ahead of that curve. So just, my 2 cents right now is that this is a very, very timely discussion, and I'm really glad we're having it.
Yep. So here we are. I'm going to start with a higher level question for David and Ruth primarily. Is it really possible to quote unquote recession proof our business in an overall strategy? And the second part of that question is, is there an offensive position or defensive position contractors should be taking? What do you think, Ruth? I'll start with you.
You do both offense and defense. And I'm sure David will agree with this because we've been through enough R words of recession. Okay. Those contractors who have a lot of recurring revenue, i.e. maintenance agreements, always do better than those who don't. And those who have both a very strong service business and a very strong replacement business, whether it is residential or commercial, do better than those who are in RNC. So, I mean, that is what I've seen over 35 plus years in this industry, is that can you recession proof? No, but you can change your marketing messages to do, messaging around saving money, which can be happening, about more comfort in their homes, providing quality, and those types of things rather than the normal things that we see right now. So David, what do you think?
Well, it's kind of interesting because my tenure in the industry, I guess you could say, is my whole life, because my grandfather was in it, my dad was in it, and I got in it and still in it. And one of the things I asked my grandfather once a long time ago about, his ideas about business up and down and stuff like that. And one of the things he said is I choose not to participate in a recession.
I love it.
And I'm like, what do you mean you choose not? I mean, how do you choose not? He said, in my mind, recession is a frame of mind. It's a mindset thing. And you can either participate or you can choose not to, and he says, they talk about inflation, you talk about all these different things. When I think about inflation, I think about this little soccer ball that needs a needle in it and a pump, so I can pump it up for my little granddaughter, right? Because she needs a soccer ball, right? So inflation here, I want to inflate a ball, but I'm not going to worry about what's going on in the economy. I just have to be a smart contractor and charge accordingly. So if my costs are going up, obviously I've got to charge accordingly, because if my costs go up, then likewise, so should my price go up. But to your point, Ruth, absolutely focusing on energy savings, cost avoidance in any way is a good thing. And I can tell you from experience, being in this thing for, well, I guess 64 years almost, seen plenty of ups and downs in the business cycle, no doubt about it. And in our case, because of the strength of learning things from, our mentor and friend, Ron Smith, and the power of maintenance agreements, we were blessed to have 3,500 maintenance agreements that kept us bouncing nicely through the ups and downs of the economy for a lot of years that we owned the family heating and air business. So I'm all for it, man. Maintenance agreements are the key for me. They smoothed out the ride, and we were happy to get through all these ups and downs and just not participate in the mindset of recession.
I love that.
I agree. I mean, you've got to look at it and, keep going where you want to go for your goals, keep going where you want to go. And I don't even watch the media anymore. I mean, I call CNN Crisis News Network. I mean, it's like one bad thing after another. It's like, why would you start your day with that?
Exactly. Right. Right.
Yeah. So it's like, put on something positive, and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, David's right. It's, if you are totally weather dependent, i.e. you don't have enough maintenance agreements, then yes, you're going to have the ups and downs. But I think, what I've seen with my clients over the past, both of us have gray hair, is that at most, we've lost 5% of our maintenance base, and it always gets made up. So, I mean, if David had 3,500 maintenance agreements, 5% of that's 175, whoopee. It's not a big deal. And yes, you do get them back.
Right.
So, it's like the other 3,500 minus 175 is 3,325. Keep the business going in good times and bad.
Yep. Exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right. And that 3,500, by the way, was in 1998. So if we still were going, it'd be more like 10,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.